Hi, my beautiful souls. How are you? How is your heart? Gosh, it's been a while. There's so much that's sort of happened in my personal space that's really just taken precedence and all my attention and energy. Thank you, Pluto conjunct my ascendant. Thank you, Saturn conjunct my moon. It's been wonderful. Wonderful. But I'm back here today, my loves, to chat to you about the equinox, the energy this week. And we've already started feeling it. I mean, March has been quite potent with the shifting of energy and stuff. And so we have the equinox on the 20th of March. This is followed by the new moon in Aries on the 21st of March. We have Pluto moving into Aquarius on the 23rd. And then we also have Mars moving into Cancer on the 25th. So it's quite a lot of shifts in energy and probably a lot for our bodies to handle. It's always interesting because when we have the equinox, depending which hemisphere you are, it signifies a shift in the seasons. It signifies a shift of where we are from a perspective of nature and where we are in union with Gaia. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, you're coming out of winter and you're coming into spring. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, you're coming out of summer and going into autumn. And so the equinox is sort of that balance point, that reset point. And for me, regardless of if you're going into spring or if you're going into winter, it's always a period of where we get to review and really release. And I feel like this whole energy this week is sort of taking that step back and sort of reviewing before jumping in, even though we have this flavor of the Aryan energy, this flavor of fire, of go, 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 which I'll dive into. But the reason I say really looking back is if you think even moving from winter into spring, they say spring cleaning, it's almost like you've been dormant, you've been really in that hibernating phase, and now it's almost like, well, you're tending, if we had to use the nature example, this is where you tend the soil to plant the new seeds. So you're doing this element of clearing away whatever potential dirt might have gathered, you're mulching up, you're sort of really releasing whatever you needed to work through in your hibernation state. So it's very much that preparation of the abundance of summer, the abundance of the crops, that sort of thing. But it takes that period of releasing and deciding, and also deciding what you're planting. So there is that really definite period of release and letting go and shedding of what you're bringing out into the light. And if we're in the southern hemisphere, which I am, then this is where you start sort of shedding. You see this quite visibly because the leaves fall. We really go into that autumn phase of letting go what no longer serves. Sort of we've had the season of summer, we've had all our abundance crops and that sort of thing. And now we're sort of being like, okay, well, we need to tend into, well, how are we going to go into hibernation? What are we keeping? What are we, stocking up on, that sort of thing? How are we preparing ourselves and our bodies to go into that hibernation, that deep phase of inward journey of who am I? What are the lessons I've seen through summer? How did I experience that? And what am I sort of wanting to cultivate when I come out into the spring side? And so with all the shifts of the planets, I feel it's very much like that. For me, it was definitely not that the new year started on the 1st of January. I've never been that sort of believer. I always believe that at times with astrologically, that our new year starts now with the equinox, as we move into Aries, and Aries is the initiator, the warrior. It's like, okay, let's go, let's do. It's the one that goes, which is quite impulsive, Aryan nature, but it's also the one that goes, okay, let's take the first step. And that's, you really want that, you want that sort of motivation, is that excitement, that like, cool, let's do it. What just popped into my head was the Fool card, where there's so much potential. We've got the whole zodiac sign to go through with the sun for the next 12 months. And there's just so much potential for us to take forward. There's so much faith, so much optimism. And there is a bit of naivety into it, when you take those first steps, you don't know what's going to unfold. You have sort of this great big vision, but there definitely is that element of faith into, well, if I take this step, perhaps this will work out this way, perhaps it won't, and then we course correct throughout that. And so I would really encourage you to honor, really being honest and doing sort of that little fact check, or if you feel like decluttering a certain space in your house. I mean, a home is always very representative of our subconscious. Take out that drawer and just clear it if it's been bugging you. Just do something to allow yourself to release as we go into this period. The new moon will obviously allow and bring very much that Aryan energy. What is really interesting is we have the sun sextiling Pluto and this period, and this is just as Pluto is about to move into Aquarius, those last degrees of Capricorn, that sort of energy is still playing up. And we also have the moon squaring Mars, and the moon sort of finishing off in Pisces before it moves into Aries. And what I find really interesting about that is because Mars rules Aries. So, and Mars has been in Gemini for ages. We had the big retrograde. So it feels very much like this energy of the last little bits coming up for you to review before we shift into a different energy. So really honoring that space. The Pluto into Capricorn, that's interesting. I mean, Pluto into Aquarius, that's really interesting. And I feel like we could make a lot of suggestions of how it could play out and everything like that. But Pluto hasn't finished its journey in Capricorn, my loves. It's going to be in Aquarius until the 11th of June. And I think it's, for me, the sense is for us to sort of see. It's almost like a trailer of a movie. We get to peek in. We might see some things that, oh, it's intriguing, or oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to watch that movie at all. But we're really not going to get the full sense of it. And then it goes back into Capricorn, it retrogrades back there, coming over all these points that we've been experiencing the last few, well, like since the beginning of Jan, those sort of whatever's been happening in your world, those things will be coming up for review. Then it moves into Aquarius for a bit next year, in the beginning part, moves back into Capricorn, and only towards the end of 2024, I think it's November, does it finally settle into Aquarius. And so, I feel, for me, it's like looking at the energy and just sensing it. Like we can get really excited about what it could mean and stuff like that, but I feel like we won't really see. We might see some big impacts and be like, whoa, but we are going back into the Capricorn to still finish Capricorn. So I feel like it's just one of those, like, say, a trailer of that. And naturally, you get to see personally, I mean, that will play out in the collective, but you get to see where it falls into your house, which houses are going to transit, which house is Aquarius ruling, which planets will it be hitting over its transit period, so you can sort of start feeling how this might be impacting you in your personal space. But with Pluto, it's really also one of those where it's one of those, I feel, just having still going through a bit of a Pluto transit, is you can know it's happening on a very logical level, and you can sort of be aware, but it is about deep, deep transformation. Pluto is going to bring you onto your soul path. And there's an element of you can't fight it. You could try resistance, but that, it just makes things, resistance is futile. For me, the Pluto thing is it's the hindsight thing that you have from it, where you can see how that journey was really tough, really challenging, really wild. And then afterwards you can be like, wow, but I can see how I developed and grew from that. I can see how I realigned into that, So this is what Pluto is going to do for us as a collective. So for me, when it comes back into Capricorn towards the end of the year, it's really, we should be looking at what are the things that we should be looking at from that Capricorn perspective, that we get the chance to really embed and review, because we'll never have Pluto and Capricorn again in our lifetime. I mean, unless we suddenly live for, I think it's another 2 200 years, 250 years, which, you know, modern advancements could happen, medicine. So it's sort of that, you know, like really taking that period. So that's sort of how I'm personally going to feel into the Pluto move. And as I mentioned, we sort of end off with Mars going into Cancer. And like I said, we've had Mars in Gemini for such a long time, and he's finally picked up speed. So we can actually feel we have that vitality and drive happening. And then it comes into Cancer, which is very much the home, the emotional body, family, your roots, and that sort of thing. So really bringing this energy back into self. And he stays there till about the 20th of May. So there's sort of where that vitality energy is playing out. It has that more emotional depth. So we've gone from being Mars in our head, the Gemini, quick thinking, to coming down into how do we generate and move with this vitality from our heart space. Another really interesting point is, if this isn't enough that we're all going through, is depending on how you view eclipses, but I do believe, and I've been taught, that the window opens about a month before. Some say maybe 6 weeks before, it depends. And so literally from the equinox, we're a month before the eclipse season periods is, we have our first eclipse. And so we also have that energy coming in for us to be like, whoa. And so, you know, with eclipses, they realign you onto where you need to be. You know, if things need to leave your world, they'll leave your world. If they're meant to stay, they'll stay. It really is sort of the game changer. Not everyone has for every single eclipse something major, because it naturally depends where it hits in your chart. But we're starting to see the nodal shifts with that. So just bear in mind that it's very much the shifts and stuff like that. And a keyword for me that was really interesting is the Aries keyword, and which I'll end off with, is I am. And so often we go, I am Jennifer, I am a female, I am, you know, we attach all these labels and identities to the words I am, where actually, who are you if you're just I am? You know, in Kundalini Yoga, we talk about the I am meaning I am my soul, but I am also I am with the vastness as one. And the non-attachment, the non-needing to fill in those blanks. And I feel like that's something I'm really feeling into, is just going, I am, you know, and being enough in my I am presence without having to attach labels, without having to fit into roles, with just being so connected into your soul. This is an everyday journey, because we did choose to become humans and have this experience, but it really is, if you just go, I am, and just allow that as you navigate through it, I really do believe you will come more into alignment with your soul and into your heart space. And when you take those steps from that presence, there is no way that your life will not unfold in the most magical way. Not to say there won't be challenges, but there's an element of grace that comes with, there's an element of faith and an element of deep knowing and trusting. And so through all of this, my beautiful loves, I hope you make time to always come back to your I am presence, come back to your breath when it feels too much. Simply taking a deep inhale and exhale brings you back into a state of neutral, you know, and then just enjoy. We all decided to be here for these wondrous, crazy shifts and that sort of stuff, and trust that the alignments are happening and that you will have guidance to work with them, and not coming from an ego space of trying to resist it, which will then make it a lot harder, a lot more challenging to integrate into life. So that's my update, my beautiful love. Sending you so much love, sending you so much grace, and yeah, just connect into your heart space, your I am presence. Bye, beautiful loves.